Listen up here. The restaurant industry is grueling and unpredictable, just like this show, from the front of the house to the back of the house and all in between. We will turn up the heat, you turn up the volume. I'm Chef Antonio Caruana. Welcome to the Tell All Podcast, the Burnt Hands Perspective.
This podcast contains explicit and potentially offensive material. You've been warned. Now buckle up, bitches. Let's go.
All right, guys, sitting here with Terry Tarantino. What's up, brother?
Nice to have you.
Cleveland's finest,
Cleveland.
one of them, right?
Thank you. Thank
or
you.
the worst? Which one?
I'm in between.
You're in between.
I fluctuate.
Mezze.
I fluctuate.
You fluctuate. So I'm sitting here in Little Italy of Cleveland, one of my favorite spots, and a really gem and a jewel when it comes to Little Italies around the country. You'll see these places everywhere you go, in which I actually look for them, whether it be Federal Hill in Providence, whether it be New York City, whether it be wherever you may be. We're going to go and we're going to do these things all over the place. But anyway, Terry, what I want to talk to you about real quick is this podcast is about the industry on all different facets, man. We go from one bullshit to the other, right? And what we don't talk enough about, though, is the heritage, my heritage, the Italian heritage. Everybody knows I'm an Italian chef. Everybody knows me around my areas, Luce and Luce Secondo, and what I bring to the area as far as that. But let's talk about, I love this topic, bro, because I do a lot of work. Your family and my family are from the same region.
Very close, in Lazio.
Yes. Lazio, exactly. From Roma, Ocean, Civitavecchia, and where you're from. So we have a lot of the same background, and it shows in your cooking, and it shows in your influence in the restaurant. It shows in your hangover today that you tried to get me drunk on last night, bro. So, he comes in last night. We're having a great fucking time. I'm sitting there minding my own business, and you got to go downstairs and get me what?
Nice
Antinori.
tea and yellow.
Tea and yellow, but not a nice one, a 2000.
Yeah.
Highly rated, delicious. I think it put us both in the mix. But here's to that. I'm gonna take a sip. While I'm sipping, bro, tell me, what is your take on today's? Is it hard staying with the traditions of Italian chef, Italian restaurateur, right? Trying to keep up with the demands of the traditional Italian, the American Italian, but also wanting to dip into the fucking the other areas of the regions of Italy. Where are you at with it? Where's your style?
Well, what I try to do, ingredients are so important, as you know, Tony, and I like to keep it raw here. And when I say by keeping it raw, I'm not into balsamic drizzles on stuff. What is balsamic? In America, it's basically caramelized sugar and vinegar. And who needs to put that on their food to make
someone
the food
who can't
better?
cook. That's who.
Yeah, usually, or someone that can't design how to cook. But I keep it simple. I like using olive oil. I have to have great tomatoes, and I have to have great olive oil, and I have to have, of course, good garlic and good onions, and everything else. After that, you need 3 to 5 ingredients for every dish. When you start throwing all kinds of different cheeses and 4 different cheeses and 3 different vegetables and 2 different meats, and it gets ridiculous, and you become the Olive Garden.
Do you have time? Do you have a hard time purveying that or relaying that to your staff? If you get a new kitchen guy, or your kitchen guy must be working for you for a long time. How long does it take them to understand what you're trying to say and stop fucking trying to do what they're trying to do and present to you? Do you have a problem with that, man?
That's a huge point. Most non-Italian chefs, or even educated chefs, they don't cook like Italians. They don't understand how to put pasta water in. They don't understand less is more. And
salt in the water, the al dente, what cut goes with what pasta comes from where.
Even the salt. How important is sea salt versus the other salts in the market?
It's 100% important, bro. Look,
Italians know that.
Iodized white salt is what you put outside in Cleveland right here when I'm out the snow, so your guests don't fucking fall, right? Me, I don't use that for anything. Maybe I'll put it in my pasta water so I don't have to spend the money on the sea salt. Salt at that point is the salt. We want that pasta to really absorb that salt in the water. So that salt is for that. But as far as garnishing your plate, putting it on the final, or actually even seasoning your food with it, you're selling yourself short, people. You're selling yourself short in the salt game. There is so much salt out there that you should be experiencing, and it doesn't have to be Italian either. We got Icelandic, Himalayan, fucking lava, black, white, any sea you want. Everybody's creating salt all over the place. I mean, you can get salt from deep into caves all the way up to mountaintops, from the ocean to the damn Midwest. So people are making salt everywhere, and it's all delicious, man. And it's one of those fucking ingredients that just hits your tongue and does what your tongue is supposed to do, and that's open up. So go ahead. I'm sorry to cut you
No,
off there, but you
no,
talked salt,
no,
man.
I-
That's insulting.
But you hit it right on the head. And you can go on and on about salt. And I had a great discussion with you yesterday about all the different waters you have on your.
Oh, dude, water's a whole nother level, man.
Well, but you took it to a whole new level, and I need to understand to add a couple more waters. We try to have good Italian water here. We have some good local water, good water from U.S. But water is so important.
So what I think about water, Terry, is when I go to Europe, right, you don't get tap water. People don't understand that unless they travel to Europe, and then it becomes a little thing. If you look on Instagram and TikTok, everybody's giving you advice on don't get the tap water, they won't give it to you. It's fairly true. You can't drink a lot of it. It's not filtered like it is here in most places in Europe. It's just not the same different thing. And even when it's filtered here, it's bad for you, but they just know it, so they don't give it to you. Here, they give it to you. Anyway, water is very important. So each part of the world has their own variation or perception of what sparkling water should be. And it's the size of the bubbles, to the solidity, to the ground, to where it's filtered, the filtration systems. Everybody has it. If you go to Germany, you're getting different from Austria. If you go to Austria, you're getting different from Italia. If you go to Italy, you're getting northern Italy's different water from southern Italy. You know, we hit the San Benedetto or the San Pellegrino. Those are the basic most waters that everybody knows on the market. They cornered it, right?
Absolutely.
But when it comes to actual waters, my list at Luce Secondo and Luce Norfolk, I find it very important if I'm going to really purvey the experience of Europe. I want to make sure that everyone has the ultimate options of Europe. And that's just not the food and this. I want you to experience as if you're walking down the street in Europe. I want you to have, if you've been to Germany, but yet you're an Italian restaurant, but you remember that German, you're still in a Europe mindset, a Europe state of mind. That Euro food, the ingredients as you were talking about, these are all fucking key, dude. And without them and without our knowledge of them or us being left with the gray hairs to be able to make sure we're quality control, you know, that's what I'm really worried about as far as I'm so worried about people are more worried about the art of chefing, the tweezers, the leather aprons. That's all great, man. That all has its place. But I'm more worried about them focusing on that and making less exception for the actual quality of the food. If I can get a shitty lobster that was farm raised just so I can use my tweezers, I'm more worried about that person than I am about the person who's not wearing tweezers or using tweezers rather. Am I wrong in this, T?
Amen. Yeah, it's absolutely.
And present, when you guys on Cleveland here, this is a really, really proud Italian neighborhood. It's proud. Every fucking Italian flag is on every house, up and down the street. There's a lot more pride in this town than I've seen in a lot of little Italies. And I'm not talking about the business perspective. Everybody in every little Italy is going to use the best of their ability to make a business out of this. So they're going to propagate. They're going to do that, right?
Absolutely.
But I'm talking about the civilians, man. You walk up and down the street right here. There's Italian flags in everybody's house.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
How long you been here in this town?
My whole life.
So you have a restaurant. You've been a restaurateur.
Yes. I've been a restaurateur 35 years.
Right here.
Yep.
In this spot.
Yep.
You've owned this joint.
35 years.
Holy shit. That's what I'm saying. So you don't come out with the chef coat, the big fucking glitz and glamour. You're past all that. You're tried and true. Your place is full every night.
Well, let me say this. This is what we're talking about ingredients. 9 out of 10 restaurants put their tomatoes in the cooler. A tomato in the cooler tastes like the cooler, not like a tomato.
Right.
A tomato has to be stored room temperature.
Well, it's going to retard the cooling in a cool air is going to actually retard its residual sugars and its ripening and everything we're going to get out of the tomato. Yeah. And those acidic acids typically overpower the sugar and we get a little sour, they get tart. So absolutely, you're right. You shouldn't have a tomato in your restaurant long enough to have it go bad anyway. Am I right or wrong?
That's absolutely correct.
So if you're putting your shit in your refrigerator because you're holding on to life, get rid of it. Don't do it, man. Yeah, there's certain tomatoes we put in our fridge because we chop them for saute, so I want them to hold that al dente. I don't want them to over.
That I agree.
But if we're going for a fresh tomato, they have to be at room temperature. Yeah. We have local people in our area indigenously growing heirloom strands, so we get some really nice tomatoes, especially in the summer.
Tomatoes are great there.
But here we come in the fucking winter, bro, and now we're tomato-less.
We are for about a month until we could get some good stuff from Florida. There are some good vine grapes in Florida.
Sure. What are you doing for tomatoes as far as can when you make your salsa, your pomodoro, your marinara, all that stuff? What kind of cans you like?
I like the Alta Cucinas.
Dun, dun. That's all it is. Stanislaus Alta Cucina is the best. It's American. It's Italian-American. Yeah. Out of Stanislaus, California. Yeah. One of the best brands, plug, hint, hint. No, I'm just kidding. I actually use them because they're delicious. No fail every time. My second one that I use, Muti.
Muti's unbelievable.
Yeah, Muti's a great tomato. You open up that can, you see less water, you see more passata on top floating. That's where we want to be, folks, okay? So when you're opening up your cans of tomatoes at home, if you're going to go get the Tutoroso or anything like that from your grocery store, they're okay if you're at home and you need to get by.
Yeah.
But when you open up your can, you want to look for that liquid on top. If you're seeing a lot of liquid with no viscosity and a lot of water in there, throw that tomato to the side and try another brand, all right? Go for it. Try it. Trust us here. Me and T.
Muti has a freshness about it that is exceptional.
They're also packed in Italy, and they come from the Italian soil, and they come from the actual Europe standard, which is huge. And I've had some people tell me, well, if you don't like it here, move. I'm not going to move. I'm not going to fucking move, so don't tell me to move. The problem is stop buying that shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's the problem we're dealing with when it comes to these ingredients. Whether you're in Cleveland, Virginia, New York, it doesn't matter where you are. If you're buying those ingredients, they're all coming from 3 or 4 places, period, no matter where you are, right? Wow. And the more we buy that and the more we accept it, I don't have to fucking move. How about they just stop producing garbage that's going to give us all this problems we have, you know?
You're right, Tony.
How about the gluten-free world, my man? Let's talk about that, because you're Italian, I'm Italian. How's that treating you?
Well, you know, the gluten-free people are growing faster than anybody. And I mean, I have to be honest with you. I think the biggest problem with Americans is they eat too much pasta. Their dishes are too big. And white flour and all that gluten, it's not healthy. It's not healthy to eat anything in that and the amount people are eating it in. I think if you cut down your portion size, I think it helps a lot. But there are people that are celiac, and there are people that are bothered by the sugars from the gluten and the problems with that, especially people that are on borderline diabetics. So I understand the gluten-free, the whole deal.
Yeah.
Italians are really embracing it a lot more than I thought they would.
Well, they are, and I think Italian Americans. Now, this comes up a lot in my podcast because it's a really hot topic, man. And I like asking different point of views of it because I like to make sure that my thinking is along the same line and I'm not blinded, okay? But I still remain on the same track of how I'm thinking. It's the American standard of how they're growing the wheat is the problem. It's not so much the gluten. It's what they're making the gluten out of, the chemicals going into the gluten, and it's a false fake gluten our body was not produced or has not produced an antibody to. That's the problem. So I don't really believe it's gluten. I believe it's how our gluten is produced here. My semolina comes from Italy, comes from Europe. I won't buy it anywhere else, and I don't have issues when it comes to people. Of course, with all due respect to the celiac and the diabetics and things like that who actually need it, come around. We want you. But it's really hard sometimes. And when you come to the portion control, like you said, that's another subject, man.
Well, Tony, proof in what you're saying about using Italian wheat, Italian semolina, is look at the Italians. They all are in shape. Their life expectancy is 10 years higher. The highest life expectancy in the world is in Italy, #1 country. Okay, so they're eating all that. But if you've been to Italy, the portions of their pasta are a lot smaller than ours.
Different times of day. We're eating it during the day, not at night.
Yeah.
To me, when I do a portion, Terry, I'm basing it off the proteins, whether it be a lobster or whether it be scallop, whatever it may be inside that dish. You know, the lamb or beef,
right,
or the chuck or whatever it may be. Cingale or guanciale, whatever it may be. I'm not basing it off the pasta. So a 4-ounce pasta is basically it. So if my price on a dish is $45, it's because you have $45 of actual ingredient product. It's not really about the pasta.
Right.
So some people will say, okay, I'm going to pay $45, but it's such a small amount. Well, I could always just add more pasta for you and make you feel like you're getting more, but nothing's changing elsewhere. We didn't price it on the pasta. So that's the biggest thing is the visual eye, you eat with our eyes. So the visual look of that is where we go wrong in America. And we're working on it. It's coming around. I think that a lot of people are coming around. The whole, what do you think about the whole trend of food anyway? Vice, let's say you're here 35 years, right? So what about when you were here 10 years from now? Each 10-year decade, that's 3 decades of difference. Going back to the baked Alaskas, the big Parmesanas, the big fucking eggplant parms, to now, what do you see different? What are you thinking of the trends?
People are eating smarter, healthier. And in my restaurant and in Italy, there's not so much cream in the whole country of Italy. Italians aren't in the cream. They use very little butter. Over here, people over butter, over cream, and over cheese Italian food. And Italian food is much lighter. And the trend that I see is people are eating less dairy products with their food. People are eating smarter as far as pure vegetables, and like you said, great seafood, quality seafood. The farm-raised seafood, I don't serve farm-raised salmon. I don't serve all my halibut, all my salmon, all my grouper is wild caught. And that's the way I believe.
That's the way it should be.
Absolutely.
Should be. So farm-raised foods are farm-raised. We already know what that means. It's made for the masses. It's not made for us who do it. Now, to touch base on that, going back to what you said about the over-cheesing, the over-saucing, the over-smothering, the smoldering shit, right?
Right.
That is definitely true when it comes to the creams and everything else. The extractions of food and ingredients now, the trend of eating healthy, eating clean, excuse me, the residual sugars, using the acids that come through properly. I'm liking the new trend of clean eating because it's allowing me to have a new look or a new way of cooking. And that's using the ingredient instead of using everything else to create something that everyone thinks the palate used to like, right? Now I can use a piece of halibut and I can slowly sear it. I can use ingredients around it like escarole.
Absolutely.
I can use guanciale in the escarole to just bring out those flavors and a little bit of lemon zest. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
I can touch it at the end. If I can do a Wagyu or Australian Wagyu or a really high-rated Wagyu, I can just pan-sear that quick on both sides and get a really high-end olive oil drizzled over that. And that olive oil is going to be the flavor.
Absolutely.
Touching on that steak. Absolutely. And that steak is going to touch the olive oil. And then when you go with that sea salt on top we were talking about, Maron, listen to me. I'm hungry now.
Yeah, well, Tony, that's exactly the way trends are. But people want to, if somebody goes to your restaurant and they have a great meal and they wake up the next morning and they feel like crap, okay?
It's your fault.
They're going to blame you.
It's your fault. They want to eat 17 pounds of Alfredo cheese, whatever that is, and they're going to blame you.
But I have to tell you, when they wake up feeling strong and clean and good, they're going to go back. They're going to think the next time they go to eat, they're going to go to your restaurant.
Sure.
Because they remembered how they woke up.
Do you know how hard it is for some people to try and create a beautiful Italian dish, right? And I could blow them away with 3 ingredients: salt, olive oil, arugula. You know what I mean? And their taste buds are going to do things that they didn't realize was happening. They're going to go out. They're going to have a great time. They're not going to fart on their first date. They're going to fucking be lovely. Life is beautiful, right?
That is all you need.
That's all you need.
No one has ever had arugula when it first comes up in the spring with a little bit of salt and good olive oil. It is magic. It is you don't even know what you're eating. It's so good. It's so tender. But you hit it right on the head.
When I came up here this summer and we sat outside on the patio, you made me something I'll never forget. I loved it, man. And it was so simple. And it's something that I haven't had in a while, the way you prepared it. And it was just thin sliced eggplant, lightly fried in a pan. Yeah. And you put the nice sauce over the top and just some fresh mozzarella and melted it. Yeah. Almost like a teaser intro to an eggplant parm or something. Yep. But it was just a really nice appetizer. I was drinking some sparkling rosé. Yep. I had that outside the patio. The Frank Sinatra was playing. It was really nostalgic. A lot of fun. We had people outside on the street. We had motorcycles all over the fucking place. And we were here, we were getting it on. And it was all around food. Yeah. It was all around food. And the best thing I like about you, Terry, is 35 years you've been doing this and you're not stuck into a routine to where you are just doing the same redundant stuff. Your menu is bright. It's educated to the times. You're trying to accommodate and please the people that have been coming for 35 years, but yet you're also bringing in. Last night, this place was packed with all young, new age type diners. Yeah. You had your your sprinkle of old heads in here as well, your blue hairs and stuff who come in and you hold it down. Yeah. But then, once I walked in and looked around, I'm like, yeah, that's the first telltale sign, is looking at the age of the demographic here. Yeah. And when I'm walking up the street, other places don't even have people in them, let alone young ones.
Well, I'm very fortunate that the people understand what I've been doing and how I do it, and people really appreciate it. And that's the key, is to attract people and for the people to understand what you're trying to do. And it's difficult because we have all these crappy franchises that are pulling people in all different directions and trying to educate them in the wrong ways about food quality and about calories and processed sauces that are not good for you and are the wrong salts. Let's just say that, the wrong salts.
Yeah.
All that processed food is the wrong salt.
So everything that you're talking about is, I'm happy. You start seeing Red Lobsters close down, Chili's, all these things are starting to close down. And people are like, the restaurant industry, what's happening? What's happening? It's fucking finally. It's about time. These corporate conglomerate shitholes are starting to close down because people are getting wise to what it is they're eating. Right. And they're starting to go and search for people like us, like you, like myself, and like my team and my chefs as well, because they're tired of the garbage, man.
Absolutely.
Nobody wants, when you go to the Olive Garden and you're paying a little bit less than what you're paying for something fine here at a white tablecloth, for garbage, people are catching on to this shit, man. Wow. They're catching on. You know what I mean? And I'm all for it.
It's even like wine, okay? We had tea and yellow last night. You can't expect people to order tea and yellow every night or whatever, but you get what you pay for wine. And anybody that buys the cheapest wine on any menu in any restaurant, if you spend an extra $20 more, you're getting a wine that's a lot more quality. And it's the same thing with food.
Especially with Italian wines, man, and French as well, everybody.
Yeah.
People are now making wines in that $30 to $50 price range that are very tasty.
Yeah, well,
they're very good.
And they get high, and they're highly rated by wine enthusiasts and by Wine Spectator.
Sure.
And on Vivino or whatever wine app.
Sure.
Those wines are so much higher rated, and it's another $10 or $20 or $30 more than buying a cheap wine.
And again, the winemakers are getting smarter. The winemakers are producing more.
Yes,
the winemakers are producing much more clean and ethical.
Absolutely.
They're understanding the organicness of it all is really doesn't even have to be advertised anymore, is that, because a lot of people are just naturally doing it that way because they're finding out that the product they're getting is coming out. The yield might be smaller, but the juice is so much better. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And that's what we're here to do. That's what I'm saying to my restaurant. Our yield might be smaller, but the product is much better. And that works all the way around. You know what I mean?
Tony, that's why you're hitting it on every level. And that's why you are successful, because you understand that.
Right on. I appreciate that. And like I said, Terry, listen, we can sit here and chop it up all day. I say that at the end of every meeting because at the end of every meeting, it's true. We start talking. Chefs start talking. Restaurant guys start talking. What is it you'd like to see happen in the industry, man? If you were to tell a young person coming in the industry who's going to start up their own Italian restaurant across the street, which I know you wouldn't be worried about, what advice would you give them or lack of?
Well, my football coach used to say, you can't make chicken salad from chicken shit. And if you want a good place, you have to have good ingredients, and you have to have good employees, and you have to employ basic good cooking techniques. And that's how you start. From there, you learn how to manage, and you learn how to make sure your lease is good if you're opening a new restaurant. I mean, there are very important business decisions to make too. But if it's all about food, make it all about food. The simpler, the better. You can always add on. You can always expand your menu. I say start with a simple menu and keep it simple, and always buy quality ingredients. You have to compare apples to apples when it comes to ingredients, or you're in trouble.
Thank you, bro. That's very important. Where can people find you? I'm on the road, so podcast, typically in a nice setting with a beautiful thing. My partner, Kristen, is not here on this trip. So I'm doing this on the road impromptu with a very small network, very thing. But the purpose of this is to be able to go and have a conversation with chefs and worry more about the words and the conversation we're having than the big production, right?
Absolutely.
So you're going to hear the phones, the rings, the dings, the employees in the background, the whistling, the sweeping, the ice bucket dumping, the refrigerators running, the friends in the background breathing heavy, wanting lunch because they're hungry. Won't mention any names. I'm just saying. But, the purpose of doing this is to be able to get out, experiment, use the social media platform where it doesn't always have to be this big production. So I appreciate everybody watching. I appreciate everybody listening to this, man. Where can we find you when people come to Cleveland, Ohio? Where can they find you, man?
We are on a very corner of Mayfield and Murray Hill. La
Say
Dolce
it for the
Vita.
people in the back, louder.
La Dolce Vita.
Oh,
The sweet life.
the sweet life, baby. That's all day. LaDolceVitaClee.com. And that's why I know Terry's a fucking pimp, because all he cares about is the food. He don't even know his website,
I don't
brother.
know my website.
I love this. This is mint.
I had to have help.
I love it. So do we get that again? Let me hear it. www.ladolcevitacleve.com. Is there a Facebook?
Yes.
Instagram?
Yes.
Hit it.
La Dolce.
Dolce Vita Clee. CLE.
Clee. La Dolce Vita Clee. Check it out on Facebook. Instascam. All that shit. Go on it. Check us out. Thanks for watching.
Live opera, Monday night, twice a month, all year.
Right here?
Yes, sir.
In the place.
Yes, sir.
A live opera.
31 years we've been doing live opera. And
Where
when
the
I
hell
say-
is it still the same opera singer?
No.
Need some medicine.
No, we have a beautiful girl from Ukraine that's been with us for 8 years now.
I didn't know this.
Yeah.
When is that?
We do it on Monday nights.
Ah, fuck.
31 years, and it is not this really stifling, difficult opera music. This is musical theater. This is opera, Italian opera. We do some German opera. We do some Ukrainian opera. We
It's
do
opera.
songs from all over the world, and it's not boring. There's 4 sets. They're 12 minutes a set. In between each set, there's 2 courses of food. It's $60 a person.
Holy shit!
Best
This is
deal
fu-
in
you know,
town.
my gears are grinding right now, bro.
Yeah.
My gears are grinding. I think it's Luce Secondo Opera Night coming up.
I gotta
Huh?
tell you,
We'll do a
come down-
live broadcast back and forth.
No, we'll come down there and we'll do one for you.
Oh
we'll
man!
show
all
you
right.
what it's like.
Good. Hey, listen. Ciao for now. Thanks for looking. Thanks for watching. Keep supporting small businesses, small restaurants. La Vita Dolce. Huh?
Thank you, Tony, for everything. Thank you,
Thank you,
love
brother.
you, Tony.